Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
You good? It's only February. Get up. Football starts in like 3 months. Just kidding.
More like 6 months.
I just said that to wake you up.
This offseason's a long slumber. I'm not.
And it's only you understand that the Super Bowl was this month.
Literally 26 days ago. Or 24 days ago.
It was still this month.
Don't worry, I got the XFL to watch.
You were like literally telling me last week how much you liked the XFL.
I didn't watch a game this weekend, and I realized they're gonna crash and burn because no one they can't hold an audience.
No,
the NFL holds an audience. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, it's Thursday, February 27th. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me. Today in this episode, we're gonna give you a quick question, interesting question, but we will play a game. I told you on the last podcast,
yes.
We're gonna play a game of Would You Rather. And we're
My
gonna talk
favorite
about
game.
Several players from last season.
For who we'd rather in 2020.
Who we'd rather have in 2020. So some interesting guys. They finished close to each other this year. We'll see who we want for next season. Before we get into the quick question, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FFChamps on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and then subscribe wherever you listen. So, click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Let's move into the quick question. Are you ready for this? I always forget to hit my timer. Not that I follow it, but
yeah, like you follow it.
Yeah, I'd never follow it. Is it okay? Is it okay to change the name of your fantasy team midway through the season?
Is it okay? Sure, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead. If you want to get roasted. People who change their name midway through the season,
oh no,
they're weak. They're weak-minded.
Weak-minded.
You pick it and you stick it.
Pick it and stick it.
Yeah.
You know what? We got to name a segment that this year.
Pick it and stick it.
Pick it and stick it.
Yeah. You pick your name, you stick with it. And you want to change in the offseason, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Midway through the season, who am I playing this week? Oh, I'm playing Jonathan's team, the Cowboy Lovers. Oh, that's weird. Wait a minute. We don't have Cowboy Wait, it's not.
Who are the Cowboy Lovers?
What?
Oh, and then you check and
then you check and it's
It's Jonathan.
Well, you just don't do it.
Just changing his name for the.
You understand how lame you sound if you change your name mid-season?
So true.
Again, weak-minded.
It's like you've already won just before the name change.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say no. I think that is awful and stupid.
Yeah.
It's so...
This is like the most unnecessary thing.
So here's
and we shouldn't be getting this mad about it, but
I find it so stupid because, like, I don't refer to playing other people in my league by their names. I refer to them by the team name for some reason. I don't know if you do that.
Even me?
Yeah. I don't say I'm playing Rick. I say, well, you know what? Maybe because your name's so freaking long.
Yeah. But shorter names like the Pirates.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just, for some reason, like...
Mad Ants.
I just have always... But I'm like, and then it gets confusing because, like, I think it was 2 new people in our league this year. So they're new and they have new names and you got to get used to the new names.
Right.
And then you have this one guy changing his name all season long.
Probably like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, can you stop? I don't know who I'm playing anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're making
when was this new team entered in our league?
You're making me click on your team. It's like clickbait. I got to go on your team just to find out who
see
you are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so annoying.
Oh, it's so unnecessary.
Stop changing your name midway through the season. I'm going to make a rule. You get eliminated.
It's like an unnecessary
automatically eliminated. I don't know, man.
Banned from the league.
Oh, dude, that's too much. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube and you can comment, let us know if you agree or disagree with this because it is horribly annoying.
Yes.
But anyway, we thought we'd start off with a lighter question before starting the show. Let's move into Would You Rather. Fantasy football, Would You Rather 2020. I guess we'll do this every year. Why the frick not?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Why not?
And then pick it and stick it.
Pick it and stick it.
Write that down on your notes, man. That's good.
Pick it and
stick it. Anybody who has anything to do with sticks that wants to advertise on our podcast, we will totally use that segment to advertise. If you're like a tree removal service, we will let you advertise. It has nothing to do with fantasy sports whatsoever. But pick it and stick it. Let's go. It's like a fantasy basketball network advertising on our channel.
Yeah.
Pick it and stick it. Pick and roll. Whatever works.
Fantasy recognizes fantasy.
I guess so. So let's move into Would You Rather 2020. We're gonna start off with one interesting one, and I find it really, I feel like for a couple of these it's going to be it depends on what happens.
Correct.
So we're going to play assumptions. We'll play both assumptions with this particular one. But anyway,
Okay.
it's Mike Evans or Chris Godwin.
Now, who is the quarterback? So this is the first.
We'll start with part one. Jameis Winston comes back.
This is the hardest one for me out of all these questions with Jameis Winston. I'm going to say Chris Godwin. I think I'm going to say Chris Godwin. It hurts me to say that.
Good.
And I'm like very torn on that one because I think Evans is going to have the bigger games. I think more bigger games.
Yeah, he'll have like monster.
Godwin
30s.
will be more consistent, I think. If Winston comes back this year,
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be much of a difference from what it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So both guys will be good. Evans has historically been injured more often, though. Godwin, I don't think has ever had a major
about
injury.
making like a drop for pick it and stick it.
Gosh, you're still thinking about that.
Still thinking about it. Continue.
But so to me, if Winston comes back, both guys will be good. I'd probably take Godwin though, just because I think he's gonna be healthier and will be more consistent.
Yeah, I don't actually. That's a good point with the health. I think something that I found in my research of Bruce Arians last year was that when he was coaching the Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald did very similar things
Yep.
to what Mike Evans did this year. It's this explosion, gets a lot of targets, but only explodes in certain games and has good games and bad games and inconsistent. John Brown became a really great fantasy wide receiver back in the day when he was playing in the Bruce Arians system, right?
Was it John Brown or was it someone else?
It might have been someone else. Could be wrong.
There
I
was
don't
two
know.
wide receivers.
There was
though.
two wide receivers, but the slot wide receiver was a lot more efficient in the Bruce Arians system. Chris Godwin is the slot wide receiver. That's not changing. He's not moving to the outside. Right. Mike Evans isn't going to be traded. Like, they're there. They're staying there. You have to make the choice. You got to make the decision. Now, I have a quick question for you. Would you be willing to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the same fantasy team?
If Jameis Winston is there, yes.
Okay. Would you start them both in the same week?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? You might hit both, or you might get one. Either way, you're getting an average of 15 points from either one of those guys. But anyway, so to answer the question, I'm going to have to agree with you and go with Chris Godwin. Not because I had Chris Godwin,
okay,
but because Chris Godwin is the slot receiver. That's assuming Winston comes back.
Right.
Does it change if they go after a Tom Brady / Phillip Rivers?
So if they get Rivers or Brady, I think it actually makes...
No, I disagree.
You didn't even let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
It makes picking Godwin more obvious.
More obvious, yeah. You know what? I actually...
You still disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I agree with that. I thought you were going to say I like Mike Evans more. I'm like, no.
Because Brady and Rivers are not going to throw the ball 60 yards downfield.
They both cater to the slot.
Correct.
Both of them.
So that'll be a good thing for Godwin.
The big thing, I think... I don't know that you would see Brady and Phillip Rivers throwing the ball as much as Winston did.
I don't think so either. If you're telling me Phillip Rivers is the Buccaneers quarterback, which I think he will be, I think it's going to be Phillip Rivers.
Interesting.
I don't want to have both wide receivers. If it's Winston, I want to have both wide receivers.
You don't think the Miami Dolphins are sweating to get Phillip Rivers right now?
He better not be. What's the point?
To have three old quarterbacks and a
Let's have Fitzpatrick, Josh Rosen, Phillip Rivers, and somebody we draft.
Justin Herbert. It's the Dolphins.
It's like, what are you doing? No, I don't think he's going to Miami.
Yeah, I think in either situation you pick Godwin, but if it's Winston, it's a little bit closer.
Yes. No, I think if it's Winston, to me, it's a coin flip.
To me, Godwin has to be higher than Mike Evans in rankings.
Yes, and I think he will be.
I'm concerned about Mike Evans. I really am. What round are you willing to draft him in?
Geez, probably late third, early fourth.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a good value. If he's falling back into the 5th, 6th round this year,
Evans,
I'm all over it.
Oh yeah, he won't.
He won't be there.
No, he'll be a third. At worst, he'll be a fourth, and I would take him in the fourth.
I think as a high-end 3rd round pick, like similar to that's my thing is that
I'm probably not taking him at the top.
Last year he was an early 3rd rounder.
Yeah, I'm not taking him at the top of the 3rd.
Me neither.
Even with Winston.
Right. I just can't. I love Mike Evans, and he's still young.
He's a great player.
He's 26 years old.
He might be better than I think he's better than Chris Godwin as a player.
For sure. As a player, he's better than Chris Godwin. I think he'll remain. Everyone talks about who's the wide receiver 1 there. He'll remain the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. It's just
numbers wise.
Numbers wise, I think Godwin is just going to be better.
Fantasy wise, yeah.
Fantasy wise. So, we'll obviously see as the season goes along if Chris Godwin was a flash in the pan.
Right.
But Chris Godwin right now should be ranked higher than Mike Evans. And
as of today, yes.
I'm taking Chris Godwin. You are taking Chris Godwin. Let's move on to the next one. Would you rather have Mark Ingram or Nick Chubb?
I get both sides of this, but and Kareem Hunt is coming back, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that makes, because some people might be like, well, it's obviously Nick Chubb. But with Kareem Hunt coming back and the amount that the Ravens run the ball, this is actually pretty close, but I'm still going to say Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb has more potential. He's the better of the 2 running backs.
Right.
And even when Kareem Hunt was there, Chubb was still getting 20-plus carries. It does limit his ceiling of being in the same class as what I think he could have been, which is like that, like Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook area. Maybe not as good as those guys, but in the same class at least.
Right.
I don't think he's going to be that with Kareem Hunt there because of his targets.
Right.
It's going to lower his value, maybe like a 3rd round guy.
Okay.
But I would still take him over Ingram. It's close. It's closer than people think, but I would take Chubb.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one seemed a little bit even though I think in half PPR leagues, Mark Ingram scored like 115 and Nick Chubb scored like 117. 217 and 215. So.
Oh, so they were only 2 points.
Like 2 point difference.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that, I'm like, if you were to just ask that without saying the numbers, more people would say
Chubb.
Yeah. I don't know what the Ravens are doing with the running back position, and that is my concern with Ingram, is that I think they're exactly the same player. Just about.
They're close, yeah. I think Chubb is a little better.
He's a little better of a pass catcher. I think they're the same in the running department. Like, I think Nick Chubb's more talented.
He's bigger.
He's bigger and more talented.
Well, Ingram's big, but like height and size. Chubb is
right. I think just for me, if you were to take the height, size, all that stuff out of it, and just say talent, like Nick Chubb, obviously.
Yeah.
For me, I think Ingram. I'm concerned that they want to go like they have this young running back in Justice Hill.
Yep.
I think they like Gus Edwards, but I don't see him being a large part of that offense really ever. And I think Justice Hill is probably the biggest threat to what Mark Ingram is doing.
Correct. I think so too.
And if they want to try to get, because what was he, a 4th round pick?
In fantasy?
No, in real life, Justice Hill.
Oh yeah.
So if they want to get him more involved in the offense, that's obviously going to hurt Mark Ingram. Now, Mark Ingram is one of those capped by, he doesn't catch a lot of balls, so he's capped by his efficiency on the ground. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's got to get 120 yards rushing in order to get a good fantasy week, a decent one. So you're capped by touchdowns. What people thought this year is that Lamar Jackson would score all the rushing touchdowns. He did not. He got a lot of rushing touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, but he can get as many as people thought. And Mark Ingram had, I think, around 15. Is that right?
I think it was a lot. Yeah.
So he had a lot of rushing touchdowns. I remember reading an article by Mike Tagliere from Fantasy Pros, and he was saying, don't draft Mark Ingram because Mark Ingram is not going to be – I'm not ragging on Mike Tagliere. He's a great fantasy analyst.
Yeah.
But he said that Mark Ingram is not going to get the opportunity running the football as, you know what I mean, in the red zone because of Lamar Jackson's ability to rush it into in the end zone when he's playing from the red zone. So basically, he was saying Mark Ingram's going to be capped by his touchdowns, and he's not going to be as valuable as people thought. A lot of what the Ravens did offensively shocked us all.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if he can continue that. If he can continue that, we'll have to see. I'm going to take Nick Chubb because I know what Nick Chubb is in that offense. Like, even when Kareem Hunt was there and he was pass catching, it really didn't affect what Nick Chubb was doing at all. He still got his 3 to 4 targets. He still got his, work on the ground. He was a very good running back last year, and I think Nick Chubb is good. Now, do you think I'll take Nick Chubb here, but do you think the value of Nick Chubb is going to go down now that this news of Kareem Hunt possibly coming back and playing? Do you think his value is going to go down a little bit?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think it will. A little bit. Might drop him like around.
I honestly don't know why Kareem Hunt is coming back.
Well, I don't either.
He could honestly go back to the Chiefs.
I know.
Like, he could get a starting job in the NFL as a full-time running back and be totally, elite.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why he's going back to Cleveland. But anyway, yeah, I would take Nick Chubb.
Yeah, for
me, it's, not super close either.
Really? I don't think it's as close as Godwin or Evans, in my opinion, but it's closer than, the average person.
How many spots do you think you would separate them in rankings, Ingram and Chubb? Not based on last season's standings, but
spots over between running back rankings or overall
running back rankings.
Probably 3 or 4.
See, I'm gonna say 5 or 6.
Okay.
I think Mark Ingram's an RB2, and Nick Chubb is an RB1.
Even with Hunt there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, that Chubb really didn't change all that much later
in
the season.
No, he didn't.
So,
but he did get less targets. He was involved a little bit in the passing game, but not as much as he was in the beginning of the season.
Right. Number 3, Julian Edelman or Cooper Kupp.
Another interesting one, and it very much matters the variables here because
okay.
I think it's very obvious.
Assume Tom Brady returns.
Then I think I have to go Julian Edelman. It's close.
Interesting.
But as long as Brady and Edelman are together, I think Edelman will get a lot of targets a game. It is close though because I think Edelman is. I say this.
The wide receiver 3.
I know. I understand that, and I say this all the time. That Edelman is getting old.
No, yeah.
He's older than people think he is.
He's 35.
For a wide receiver.
Or 34 or something.
Most guys drop off at 33.
Sad part is Brady's 10 years old.
I know. Well, different position though too.
They're like
one relies on athleticism,
friend.
the other doesn't.
They're best friends, and one could babysit the other.
I know. Not that quarterback doesn't rely on athleticism, but you get what I'm saying. This one
Does his age change your opinion at all? Because you said you take Julian Edelman.
I know it does hurt, but again, I think as long as Brady and Edelman are there, again, this one has the most factors because what are the Patriots doing in that offense too? Are they adding other people?
I don't think it matters.
I think it does.
See, what makes you think Brady's just going to throw to more assets because he had him last year?
I think if they had A.J. Green on the team, that takes away.
But the season before.
When Antonio Brown was on the team,
right.
Edelman wasn't getting 12-plus targets a game.
When Julian Edelman played the 12 games he played last year, he played them with Rob Gronkowski in the lineup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he still was a wide receiver. He was pacing as a low-end wide receiver 1, which is what he did this year.
I think so. What I would say with this, if the Patriots do absolutely nothing, and they're the exact same team.
With Tom Brady?
I think I would actually take Julian Edelman. Because I think Brady would end up throwing to Edelman just 12, 13 times a game. And I love Cooper Kupp. But Brandon Cooks is not going to have the same year he just did.
Right. It's not going to happen.
Robert Woods, second half of the season, Robert Woods was big. Cooper Kupp did most of what he did, finishing third in the first half of the season. And not that, I love Cooper Kupp, but
he had 5 bad weeks, and then later in the season he picked it up.
Yeah, he did pick it up a little bit at the end.
When they started giving the tall.
Now, if the Patriots, and I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think the first scenario is going to happen. If the Patriots do anything else, if Brady leaves, if they add, I think, an A.J. Green or a big-name receiver,
okay,
I think I switch to Cooper Kupp. But if everything stays the same, I'm taking it on.
See, because of all the variables involved, whether he's going to have Tom Brady or not, the fact that he's old, and the other side of it is that if they bring Tom Brady back, I don't think Brady goes back without assets. So you have to assume the assets are going to come in. So
maybe.
For me, I'm thinking Cooper Kupp is going to be the guy. He's younger. He was number 3 in fantasy football this year, and even if he regresses, he's probably going to be 7 or 8. Do I think Julian Edelman is still that sturdy wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 2 on a week-to-week basis? Yes. But I think Cooper Kupp has a higher ceiling. Like, he has the ability to have much larger weeks on a more consistent basis. And I think that it's clear, this season made it clear that Cooper Kupp to Jared Goff is his number 1.
Which I've been saying that for two years now.
So I think Cooper Kupp is just a better option over Julian Edelman. I'm curious. Where's my phone? I'm curious to see where they are drafted.
Oh, I can't look. I was gonna look it up for you, but I can't. I can't do that.
I don't even know what I did with my phone.
Your pockets?
I checked them all. It's all right.
Whatever. It's probably Kupp. Kupp's probably higher, but I don't know. It's close. Those guys are. That's a good question. Like this is a good debate. I think Edelman. If he plays next year with Brady, he's still gonna be getting all the targets in the world.
Who?
Edelman.
Edelman?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree.
And my thing is, Kupp might not get. He's gonna get a lot of targets, but again,
he still played with all 3 wide receivers though. So what makes you think that he's not gonna get the targets?
He didn't really play with.
It's the hard questions.
And Kupp had a very healthy season last year. He usually doesn't.
So right now, Cooper Kupp has 210 in 12 team. Pick.
Oh, wow, that's high.
Pick.
That's higher than I thought.
Yeah. So that means he's like pick 22, 3, 4. He was the wide receiver 3, like I said.
Yeah.
Whereas Julian Edelman's value is in the toilet right now. Where are you, Julian? Where are you?
It's probably on the assumption too with Brady gone. Because if Brady's gone, Edelman, like, he'll get drafted, but it'll be late.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be a huge drop.
Where is Julian Edelman? My goodness.
He might not even be on the list. It might be like one of those things where
it glitches out.
Yeah.
Oh, right now he's 7-12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that value right there.
And you know what? If Brady doesn't come back, it'll be lower. It might be even lower than
taking draft out of it, I would take Cooper Kupp over Julian Edelman next year. Putting draft into it, I would probably take Julian Edelman.
Oh, I would way
just
rather
because
Edelman, yeah.
because of the value. Like, you can get him, and he doesn't even have to be a starter on week 1.
Right.
So I'm gonna take Cooper Kupp here because it's would you rather, and we're not talking about would you rather draft. We're just talking about would you rather have this player in 2020. So I'll take Cooper Kupp, just because of the youth and the fact that they target the crap out of him when he's playing, and obviously Jared Goff loves him. So I think the other thing is do you expect, if they get rid of Todd Gurley, which is highly unlikely, do you expect them to throw the football a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. The Rams were so disappointing this past year.
I know. Well, Cooper Kupp wasn't, though.
Yeah, he was.
He had some bad weeks, but I really do think that he was slightly.
He was
more
really
consistent.
up and down.
But anyway, let's move on to the next one. This should be an interesting little debate.
Yeah.
I actually, for the first couple, I thought I knew. I thought we would agree on Chris Godwin. I thought we would agree on Nick Chubb. I thought we might agree on Cooper Kupp.
We did. I mean,
Kind of.
I'm pretty much saying Kupp unless
You're like
everything stays the same.
You're putting like Julian Edelman = Cooper
right.
Kupp.
Any other scenario, it's Kupp.
Yeah.
But if it stays the same, it's
I think if you're shooting, just a final point on this, if you're shooting for consistency, I would take Julian Edelman.
Which is one of, I think, injuries and consistency. I do take a big factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas Cooper Kupp, I thought he might be more consistent because usually slot with like Chris Godwin, perfect slot receiver, perfect example because I have a hair in my mouth.
I was gonna say what?
A perfect example because Chris Godwin is a slot receiver and he didn't have as big as like he had some big boom games, but he wasn't as big a boomer as Mike Evans was.
Yeah, he wasn't as old.
And yeah. But Chris Godwin was more consistent. He had those 12, 13-point weeks in half PPR that you need to get you by certain teams, and then he would have those big 25, 30-point weeks where, you have these huge games and you're able to crush teams with them. So I think for Julian Edelman, you're not going to see those. He had like a 25-point game this year, But if you were to look at his
Other
season,
than that, yeah.
if you were to look at his season on, I'll go check it out on Player Profiler. But if you look at his season, he didn't have a lot of games really over like 21 or 22 fantasy points. This is half PPR, so I don't know what I'm about to find out. But he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games over 20 points, and the rest of the season he was under 20 points. And that's in PPR. So you can say in half PPR he probably only had 2 to 3 games under 20 points. I mean, over 20 points. So, I mean, for me, Cooper Kupp had those monster, like 30-point weeks. Julian Edelman doesn't get those, but Julian's more consistent.
Yeah.
Now, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson is the next would you rather.
You know who I'm going to take. It's Patrick Mahomes. That's right. And I can see the disgust in your face. I'll tell you why. Using your logic, quarterbacks typically usually don't finish
He's not
seasons
wrong.
back to back.
Give me a minute. I gotta brace myself.
No, just say Lamar Jackson so we can have an argument.
All right, fine.
I know you want to say Lamar Jackson.
I gotta think about it.
I think quarterbacks usually don't finish. I mean, and we've used statistics to back this up. And last year, I wrote an article. Actually, you're giving me a dirty face right now. You just give me like a death stare without realizing it.
You can't ever.
Listen, just let me talk, okay? This is a. All right.
Is this a valid reasoning, or are you?
No, this is a legitimate. I mean, it's partly my heart, but it's. It's like
so
40.
funny.
It's like 40% brain, 60% heart.
After the Super Bowl, I saw some Mahomes hate in your eyes.
Yeah,
and it felt good. It was like you were joining the dark side. I was like, yes. You know,
it was more hate for Chiefs.
Use that hate.
I had never hated the Chiefs before. After the Super Bowl, I started to hate the Chiefs.
Welcome.
But I still will always love Mahomes.
Andy Reid got a Super Bowl though, so that's the thing.
Good for him. Anyway, I wrote an article last year talking about showing the history of previous quarterbacks who finished number one, and then the next season. I mean, you can go back like 15 years, and they usually don't. I think Aaron Rodgers was the only guy that did it back to back. Yeah, and I don't even remember if he did it. Yeah, I think he was like first then second. I'm not sure if he was ever back to back.
Like back to back top 3 finishes don't happen.
Right, it's very rare. Lamar Jackson finished number one last year. So just put that out there. Another concern for Lamar, I think, is injuries. I do think there's a good chance Lamar gets injured next year, which, it sucks. I don't want to wish injury upon anybody, but just the way he plays,
right?
Where he gets out of the pocket that much. I mean, I'm not even saying I'm not saying he's gonna break his leg, but he could sprain his ankle and miss like 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah,
or have like a minor injury, like Deshaun Watson type injury.
Popped his kneecap.
Right. I mean, something like a Mahomes type injury.
Difference, but.
And then if you look at Mahomes, he didn't finish in the top 5 last year. He also missed, as you said, 2 weeks. I think it's very, very possible that he maybe not finishes number one. I mean, there's a good chance both these guys don't finish number one, I think, next year. Yeah. I think it could be some random guy like Josh Allen. Not Josh Allen, but some random player. But I do think the chances of Mahomes finishing in the top 3 next year, I think unless he gets a legitimate injury, he will finish in the top 3 next year. Yeah. I think Lamar Jackson too, as long as he doesn't get hurt, will finish in the top 3, but I think he will get hurt. Like, I'm betting on that he will miss at least a few weeks.
I would not
2 or 3
disagree with that. I'm gonna have to say I thought about it. So right now, just give you a ADP so you have it in your mind. Lamar Jackson 206, Patty Mahomes 303.
That's close.
Mahomes in fantasy football last year was absurd. It was obviously the touchdowns.
2 years ago,
2 years ago, yeah, sorry. And even to start this season.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
30 points. So it was like, that's what you want. He did slow down. I think the Chiefs are changing. They're morphing into a new type of offense, and I don't think people have realized this yet, that it hasn't clicked for them.
Yeah.
And it's why they won the Super Bowl. It's why they were as good as they were. And it's because they were, actually the Super Bowl was a little bit different. I think that was just sheer will and heart. But I think as you watch them throughout the postseason, they started to play a little bit slower. They know they lose when they don't control the clock. They know that. Andy Reid knows that. And so when this year, what they started doing, first couple weeks of the season, they came out firing.
Yep.
all cylinders ablaze. And then I think they went like, was it 5-3 to start the season? Or
it wasn't great.
So I think what Andy Reid did was he said, we're going to slow the offense down a little bit. We're not going to go as high speed unless we have to. And you saw against Houston when they needed to. They started ripping points off.
Even against the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
And they have that right. They have that ability to. That's why no lead is safe. And it takes seeing that happen. Like the Patriots saw it and survived twice last year somehow. And then this year, you saw Houston saw it. They were getting cocky, thought they were up, and they were going to crush this team and go. Imagine had they won that game. I mean, the Chiefs would be in a completely different conversation right now. But I think what's interesting is that they slowed the game down. Now, the point of that is, with them slowing the game down, Mahomes isn't going to score 3-4 touchdowns a game. He's not a high. He did throw 5,000 yards 2 years ago, but the way that offense runs, the way he plays, he's not a guy that's going to get 350, 400 yards a game. He gets more like 200 to 250. What really kills people is the absurd amount of touchdowns he throws. And so I think for Patrick Mahomes next season, it's going to be a question of how fast do they move that offense. And if they move that offense wicked, like it's the same that it was 2 years ago, then he might have the ability to throw 50 touchdowns again. And if that's the case, I for sure want him on my fantasy team. Problem is he's 303, and I don't draft quarterbacks high, so I'm not.
You're not taking either of these guys.
Yeah, I will have to see as the offseason goes along. Do people look at Patrick Mahomes and say, "Oh, he finished number 7"? Like, how did that happen? Number 6? How did that happen? Right?
I think that could have been in play if they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yes, exactly. I think the reason why he's so high is that. Now Lamar's 206. He's a second rounder.
Yeah,
which is absurd.
He's gonna be a second round pick.
I agree with you. I actually don't want either one of these guys this year.
I honestly,
I really don't. I'm
just because of where they're getting drafted.
It sounds so ridiculous because they're going to be like, for me right now, ranking number 1 is Lamar, ranking number 2 is like Patrick Mahomes. Like that's going to be a thing. Right. It's going to be either one of those guys.
Yeah.
If Lamar plays a whole season, his ceiling is so. I mean, his floor is so high that it's like.
At worst, he's gonna
bust like once next year if he plays all 16.
Just because of how much he runs, and that would probably be a game that they like blow a team out.
Right.
Like I think one of the games this year he scored 10 fantasy points, and that was because they had 3 rushing touchdowns for like
start the game,
Ingram and the Gus Bus, and then they just stopped playing.
Yeah, right. So I think Mahomes. Now this is my big thing is I was excited about Mahomes this year. I was like yes, because you thought maybe you could get him in the 5th or 6th round.
Right, but.
And I just that's not going to happen. I think the value is going to stay the same on Mahomes. He's going to be like Rodgers. He might end up being the quarterback 1 this year, but to me, is he worth drafting in the 3rd round? No, I don't like. I just don't see that as valuable to me. And Lamar, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know who can come out and be a high-end year 2. We'll tell you who we think in 3 months is going to be that guy that's the Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or, even to some extent Dak Prescott. I mean, from year to year, like Russell.
There might not be.
Russell Wilson was the QB5, and Russell Wilson was drafted in like the 12th round. Dak was undrafted. Lamar was undrafted in a lot of leagues.
There might not be like a Mahomes or Lamar this year, but there might be a Dak.
Yeah, right. So it's like that's going to happen. This is why streaming is becoming more and more of a thing for me because I just don't trust it. I don't trust drafting a quarterback and blindly. I want to like. There's not a lot of things. Fantasy football is like some people say, "Oh, it's all luck. It's all luck."
You get triggered when people
I hate when people say that because you can put work. Like it takes knowledge, ability, and like for me to be a top 3 team every year. Yeah, that takes work. Like that takes like time and effort.
You could have theoretically auto drafted though. McCaffrey,
and won a championship, right?
Michael Thomas,
right?
Who's a good 3rd round pick? Aaron Jones.
But like teams that do that and blindly win a championship,
yeah,
right? And they auto drafted, then they looked at the team. Oh, my team looks really good. And like, yes, you can luck out and win a championship and do that. Yes, that's fine.
You're not going to be able to do that.
You're not going to be able to do that year in.
You might get lucky one year,
right?
You might.
So we have a team in our league that mocks me for the amount of work that I put in to try to win, and then I don't win, and they just mock me even further. It's so fantasy football. I love it.
It's funny for everybody else.
I love it. It really is. It's because I'm the commissioner. I'm telling you right now. You all think I rigged the league. You really do. You think I rig it, but if I rigged it, I would have won already. So
yeah, that's
stupid.
true. That is true.
So next time you complain, you know what I realized? All sports, the commissioner is hated. Every single one. Baseball, hockey, football, basketball, every single commissioner is hated. And then in fantasy football or in fantasy sports, the commissioner is always hated. Being a commissioner is not an easy job, people. Anyway, I don't know who I take. I literally didn't answer the question after that 20-minute monologue.
And your answer is?
I guess I would say Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, wow. Did not think we'd agree on that one.
Because of the injury situation with Lamar.
Interesting.
You talked first, so you convinced.
Yeah, I guess so.
I really was hoping that I would be able to snag Patrick Mahomes in the 6th round and get away with it. I'm so mad that he's a 3rd rounder right now. We'll have to see. He'll probably go up. He'll probably end up being right after. Like, you know what's going to happen? Lamar's going to get drafted like 205, and there's going to be a run on quarterbacks.
I know.
So we're going to be drafting all the really good players while people waste their time on quarterbacks. Anyway, final question. Final would you rather have Darren Waller or Mark Andrews?
Yeah, I'd rather have Gronk.
I'd rather have Gronk.
I miss you. I'd rather have Waller on this one.
Okay.
And this one actually out of everyone I think is the most decisive in my opinion.
Really?
Yes.
I thought this was really close.
Andrews to me, I think is going to be up and down next year. He was up and down this year. He scored a lot off touchdowns. There's 3 tight ends that they use though in that offense. Waller on the other hand.
Did you hear the news that they're going to trade one of those? They want to trade one of those tight ends.
I did not hear that, but so two tight ends.
Not that it matters.
Waller, to me, I think he was the main target for part of the season last year. The only reason Darren Waller wasn't like on the same level as like Kelsey and
touchdowns.
It was touchdowns, and I think that can very well change this upcoming season. And who knows? Maybe they get Tom Brady, and is that a good thing for Waller? Because I think it is. Tom Brady loves throwing to tight ends.
Fantastic.
So
their whole offense is predicated around the tight end position too.
Right? Yeah, I think it's Darren Waller.
I for sure would take Darren Waller as well. Not because I have a Waller in my shorts all the time, but because I liked Mark Andrews going into this year, and I still like Mark Andrews. I think he's a good talent. As Lamar improves, and as Marquise Brown improves, I think that Mark Andrews is just going to be targeted less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
that's a good point.
He's a guy that's just gonna. I think he's just gonna be tossed to the waste. Like
he won't be fully tossed. Like he'll be used in the red zone, and that will help with so he'll still get touchdowns, but his yards and receptions I think might go down.
Marquise Brown, one of the fastest running backs in the draft class.
Receiver.
He
could have been around.
One of the fastest wide receivers in the draft class last year.
Nasty.
What are the Baltimore Ravens kind of replicating their offense around?
Chiefs
Kansas
a little
City
bit,
Chiefs
I guess.
A little bit, yeah. So I don't think. I mean, hey, maybe if they're modeling their offense around the Chiefs system, Mark Andrews is a part of that. He's the Travis Kelce of the Baltimore Ravens, maybe. I just looked at him this year and I thought there was this up and down. He had some problems with injuries, and I don't see him as high end as a tight end next year. I think he's a guy that everyone overdrafts, reaches for, and then he ends up crapping his pants, and everyone's like, well, why did I draft a tight end that high?
Yeah,
I don't do that because I don't draft tight ends high. But anyway, right now he is going off the board at 505 in 12
Who is this, Waller?
Andrews.
Oh,
Waller.
505, really?
Waller's actually going 607. So
oh, wow. Yeah, see, that's...
have a day. But I would take Waller over Mark Andrews.
I'm also taking Waller there. That's interesting that Andrews is higher.
So we would take Waller regularly, and we would take Waller because
with
he's
Brady.
606. Yeah,
with Brady.
I
think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's all the guys. I was just thinking, like, if the Patriots pick up Hunter Henry or something, do you like him? Because obviously, if they go out and get a guy.
Yeah, well, obviously, Brady. Yeah, I would like Hunter Henry.
That's a tight end.
I would.
Sorry. But anyway, yeah, I think Waller. I really hope there's a positive touchdown regression for Darren Waller, and he just scores 10 touchdowns next year.
I think it's very possible that he gets close to 10.
Do you think he can
get
rival
last year?
Travis Kelce?
It depends what else the Raiders do. Like that, there would have to be a lot going his way.
The tight end position's never the same. It's like literally Travis Kelce and that's it. You know what I mean? Like and Kittle. So, but like I feel like year to year, like Kittle's struggled with injuries.
Yeah, that's true.
And when we talk about our rankings, we'll go over some of the situations with these guys in detail. But our early rankings, shout out soon, very soon. But, you talk about like guys like George Kittle, he struggled with injuries all season.
He did, yes.
One guy that's the constant doesn't get hurt, Travis Kelce. I don't know, maybe an injury's coming, but it just seems to me like it's unlikely that you're going to see a guy like, you know what I mean? Like the guys that were injured, George Kittle and Mark Andrews, could finish 5 or 6 next year, whereas Darren Waller and Travis Kelce could finish, Travis Kelce finished 1, but Darren Waller could finish 2 just because he's on the field and he's playing.
Or 22.
Or 20. Exactly. It's scary. You don't know.
Yeah.
The tight end position is such a, who knows? Maybe next year they get a Foster Moreau in their shorts and all of a sudden, Darren Waller's a nobody.
Right.
But I think guys like Mike Gesicki too, depending on, maybe the Dolphins draft Justin Herbert and Mike Gesicki turns into this really big wide, tight end. You just don't know. The tight end position change year to year.
Really don't.
Wide receiver, top 5 guys, you usually pretty hit on. Top 5 running backs, usually you hit on. Even top 5 quarterbacks, those are changing from year to year. But it's like tight end is just one of those positions that's so unpredictable. It's like Ertz.
You got to get one late.
If you're drafting a tight end, you got to get one of the big ones. You got to get the big guns on your team, and then Zach Ertz gets hurt.
Yeah,
it's just like it's like you can't trust the tight end position.
Even when he was healthy, he wasn't that great.
This is why I don't draft quarterbacks and tight ends. They're the most uncertain positions in fantasy football. Like literally, I can't.
Yeah,
you don't know,
and that's why running backs are important because typically,
like I blind trusted Darren Waller all season. He had some bust games, and it was bad, but. For me, when I look at the tight end position, like busting is busting. There's a good chance the other team's going to have a busted tight end too. So you might as well just run it with one guy all season if you picked up a good tight end. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, that'll do it for Would You Rather. That was fun. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do another edition of this later in the up.
You just
I threw my headphones. It's so weird not hearing myself speak.
Yeah, you just accidentally threw your headset.
What was I saying? Oh,
we could do another one maybe.
We could do another one maybe later this off season, and we'll have to figure that out. But I think this worked.
Yeah,
it worked. This is one of those ideas I came up with in my.
It was good. It was fun, entertaining.
Let's do it.
Hopefully, it was entertaining to listen to.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I am too.
And I want to go get
Holy
food.
cow, am I hungry.
So don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next week.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.